ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तन्मयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 27, verse number 7. His teachings of Lord Kapila to his mother Devhuti, and he is explaining how to control the mind so that we can realize the Lord. Because at present our minds, they are absorbed only in the material sense objects, and unless the mind, its direction is changed inwardly, we will not have the realization of the Supreme Person. So he is giving a process how to switch over, how to change our channel from Maya to Bhagavan. And he said that one has to follow the path of Bhakti Yoga, renunciation, and slowly control the mind by the practice of yoga. So he says, Yamadibhir yogapatair abhyasam swadhyānvita mayi bhavena satyena mat katha swarnena cha. That following the path of Yama Niyama, etc. means being non-violent, ahimsa satya aste brahmacharya parinihayana. So our tendency is to be violent on others physically, mentally, and this brings reaction, because if you are violent to others, then that violence will come back to you and destroy your mind. Then you have to react, and you will remain in this cycle of action and reaction. You cause violence to others, then the violence comes back to you. Then you defend yourself and be more violent and offend, and then again it will come back. So therefore we have to stop it somewhere. So for that reason there are yama. Yama means to restrain ourselves. we have performed karma in our past life, and not past life but past lives, and that karma is bringing reaction in this life. So there are two ways to deal with that. One is the normal way, that when it is coming to us, then we again react, and then we are creating more karma. So that way we will never come to an end. Another is not to react, but just to take it, accept it, and this way you are getting out of it. So this is the meaning of slowly getting out. So that is the meaning of yama. Yama basically is that I restrain myself from creating further karma. And then my mind will become peaceful, because karma is that which creates disturbance in the mind. Even the whole creation we read comes because of kala, karma, guna, peta, because of kala and karma. They are the ones which are influencing everything around and within also. So this is to switch off the karma motor, which is on all the time. And one has to practice this, because it is not very easy to do that. We have a natural tendency to react. Somebody says one nice word to you in praise, and immediately you are up in the air. And someone says some undesirable statement, remark, then you are again up in the air to punch the nose in that guy, or you become depressed. So in both cases you are not what you are. In both cases you have deviated from your position. You have become abnormal. So how to be normal, balanced? Yoga means balanced. Krishna says samatvam yoga uchyate. To be sama, to be what you are. So we are always reacting, and therefore we are never what we are supposed to be. We are being controlled by others, behavior, others' words, others' looks. We are always absorbed in others, and therefore we have no time for ourselves. So this is a problem, and because we are absorbed in others, now we have become so much accustomed that if we are left to ourselves, we go crazy. We don't know how to deal with ourselves. There was a very nice news today. You have a newspaper? Bring it, I will read this news to you. It's actually very true. Because if you are left alone, then you will go nuts. And therefore this loneliness, front page, loneliness.
Times of India. Times of India?
Yeah. So this has become a disease. Here they are saying that to be virakta, to be renounced, to live by yourself. So he says Facebook generation loneliest group. Now this Facebook is actually get rid of your loneliness, but this Facebook generation, which is supposed to be between 18 and 26 or whatever, this is the loneliest group. Believe it or not, the Facebook generation 16 to 24-year-olds are lonelier than any other age group. At least in Britain, a survey has revealed. In the survey, 1 in 3 said that they were bored with their lives, compared to just 8% of pensioners, and 28% complained loneliness was making them unhappy, and so they were taking to drinking. So to get rid of loneliness, then you drink and you take drugs. Then you, solution is worse than the disease. So then you get into another trouble. And then most interesting news, and I don't want to read the whole thing, is that last month Alexandra 5 Tobias from Florida pleaded guilty to murder after shaking her baby to death. She was angry because the infant's crying was interrupting her game of Farmville on Facebook.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine? That she killed her own baby. So these are the modern mothers. In Sanskrit there is a saying, Mata ko mata na bhavati. That mother is never a bad mother. That is an old saying. You cannot use that anymore. That no matter what the son is, son can be a bad son, but mother always has a heart for the children. But these days, these relations, because people have become so confused, there is no relation. The word relation itself is lost. That's why everybody is feeling lonely, most of these people, and that's why they have to create a Facebook. So why people spend so much time on Facebook? Because they're lonely. Trying to hook up with somebody. And still that does not solve problem, because this is also just a screening. So the real problem of loneliness is lying inside us, that we have gone away from our own self. And then we search for a relationship outside, and now that is also not available. At least previously there used to be good family relations. So some satisfaction was there. Now that is also not there. So people are very much psychologically disturbed. They are sick. Never in the history were people so much psychologically sick than as they are now. Never in the history it happened that so many people were sick mentally. So what is the reason? Because we are actually meant to relate with God. And when we don't do that, then at least we have some healthy relationship outside. And now that relationship is also destroyed by this whole technological life. So people don't have spiritual relation, don't have material relation. So then they are lonely. And these lonely people are actually crazy. They can do anything because they don't have feeling for anything. When you have some relation, Arjuna went on the battlefield, he is a warrior, he has got bows and arrows, he has got divya astras, he has got divine weapons, he could annihilate the whole universe, he was so powerful. He had the Pashupatastra, he had Brahmastra, Varunastra, so many astras he had. But when he sees his relatives on the other side, then his heart softens, he doesn't want to fight. So of course there is something higher than that, that is philosophy of Gita, but now this will not happen in the modern society. Because if somebody has to go to war, they don't see anybody as a relative, there is no relative. If they don't have an experience of relation. When the mother is shaking the baby to death, is because the baby is crying. What is new about baby crying? A dog barks, baby cries. It's the nature. And then you are killing that baby, it's because you are so absorbed in some game on the Facebook. So what can you say about the state? Try to imagine the mind of this woman. And this is not just one. Others may not be killing babies like this, but they may feel like doing that. And then the others, they don't want babies for that reason. So, na rahega baas, na bajegi bansuri. There is no bamboo, there is no float to play. So So no baby, no, you don't have to strangle baby anymore. So that's why people don't want children now, especially in the West. They don't want children because they feel that children are just an obstacle in their life, and then they are more lonely and there are no children. And of course, if children are there, then they create the children also as loners, because they don't know how to deal with the children also. That's why they have to make a law that you cannot spank your child. Why the law has to be made? And if the child complains about the parents, then they will take away the child. Or even if the neighbor complains. This happened, this Brenda, Bhakti Devi from Australia, she gave birth to twins. And these twins were 2 weeks old, and one neighbor went and complained that she's mistreating the babies. And the police came and took away the babies. She has to go to court to get her babies back. And you can imagine the trauma the babies have to face without the mother when they're just 2 weeks old. And the trauma the mother has to face. And just because this lady was envious of her, so she wanted to take revenge. So why these types of laws are made? 50 years ago, 100 years ago, nobody would imagine to make a law like that somebody can come and snatch away your baby. Who the hell are you to take away my baby? But it's because parents are dealing like this with their children. So then the law is made. So now in the name of independence, we have lost all our freedom. We don't even have the freedom to take care of our children. The law has been made even for that, how you have to treat your children. So for everything there is a law, and then we think we are free. Such an illusion of freedom. So we are free only to drink, smoke and do all these things. And otherwise there are so many restrictions. So if we have to put restriction, better put restriction of yama niyama, so that you solve your problem. Everybody is leading a restricted life anyway. And more laws are being made all the time. Right? All the time newer and newer laws are coming. So law means yama. So why not follow yama or the law so that we become realized, and then we will be really free. So that we think is a bondage. That which will really liberate you, that we think is a bondage. And that which binds us, that we think I am free. This is the illusion. This is called Maya. Maya is that which makes you see things in the opposite way. That which is not, you see them. That is called avidya. Anatma, atma buddhi, asuchi, suchi buddhi. Something which is not clean, you take that clean. Something which is temporary, you take that for permanent. Which is not yourself, you consider yourself. This is avidya, this is the game of Maya. So that's why one has to hear mat katha sravnena cha, so that we can know about the reality. We can understand what is the truth. So he says sarva bhuta samatvena nirvairena aprasannata. So to see everybody as equal and nirvairena aprasannata, not being hateful of others, considering others as your enemies. So aprasannata, that is not being attached. And brahmacharyena, to be celibate, maunena, silent, and swadharmena baliyasa, following your path with strength. Soktamartham prapancham jnanena moksha prakaranah yamani So Mahiyasa Ishwar Arpitena. We translate this, there is difference in reading. Instead of Baliyasa, there is Mahiyasa according to him. So following Swadharma, Baliyasa with power, he says that one should offer that to Ishvara or to the Lord. Otherwise, following Swadharma also does not elevate oneself. And yadrichya upalabdhena santushto mit bhumunihi vivakta sharane shanto maitre karuna atmana. So yadrichya upalabdhena santushto, to be satisfied with whatever comes by one's fate, destiny. So of course this is the path of Gyan Marg and we may not be following that. But at least we can take the principle of being satisfied. We have various situations in our life and most of the time we don't get what we want. We plan so many things, we desire many things, but there are also other people who are desiring and planning, and their desires and their plans may not match with yours. If they are neutral to your plans and your desires, then obviously it's fine, they will not be an obstacle. So you desire, you plan and you act, they desire, they plan and they act, and if they are contrary to your desires, then what will happen? So there is a farmer, he wants rain because his crop is getting dry. And then there is a potter who is making pot from clay, he wants sun so that the pots can dry. So both are praying to God. So now God is in dilemma. Whom to listen? Listen to the potter or listen to the farmer? So what can he do? So like that, now they are saying that you are the maker of your own destiny. That is very good, we accept that. But I am not the only one. There are others also. Many things which influence me. If I was the only person living in the universe, then okay, you make your own destiny. But there are other persons, and there are many people who are envious of you, so they are thinking bad of you. So they are also using their mental energy that you should not be successful in your goal. So you are trying and you are meditating and you are having your bhavana, your thought process. And then there are many others who are working. Long ago, I think it was maybe 91, I went to Bihar School of Yoga to learn yoga. My plan was there to stay for 1 year. And there I went, then the founder of Bihar School of Yoga was Satyanarayana. He is retired at that time. He has made his disciple, Niranjanananda Saraswati, in charge. And he himself moved to another place, Niranjanand Dham. He was living like an avadhuta there. So one day we all went to see him there. So one thing he said, that he was living inside and big boundary wall he has made. He did not want any visitors to come and he did not want anyone to take his photograph. So he said that I don't want that people have my photograph and this and that, then think about me, and then because if they think about me, then that will disturb my meditation. So he was like being completely aloof, as it said, Vivikta Sharma. That even if you are physically alone, living separately, then people can be with you in their thought process, and that will also influence. So we don't know what all things are influencing my destiny. Many people are thinking against me, in my favor. neutral, so many things are happening. So at least we remain satisfied. The point I am making is that since there are many things which are not in my control, then whatever situation comes, we remain satisfied. If we are devotees, we take this as mercy of Krishna. Because many times we think that it is not good for me, but ultimately it is beneficial for me from God's point of view. So to have this is also faith in God, that whatever is happening is good. Let me have this faith in Krishna that whatever situation He is creating for me, one way to look at it is that it's all outcome of my karma. Other is that God is in control and He is creating situation for me. This is a devotee mood. And therefore whatever happens is His grace to me. So nothing bad can happen. Of course this does not mean that I don't take any action. I still take action, I still have plan, but result is up to Him. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So we have the duty to perform, right to act, but result is not in my hand. So if result is not in my hand, then I should not be disturbed when the result comes. I should be disturbed if it is in my hand. But why did I not get what I want? But if it is not in my hand, then I don't feel disturbed. So it is not easy, because we have the tendency to react because of our attachment to the results. But this is what he says, that yadrichya uplabdhini santushto. Like you see the story of Jad Bharat. He was wandering in the forest without any cares. No desires, nothing. Avadhut, Mukta Purusha, liberated person. The king Rahugana was passing by and he was going to meet some sages. Commentators say that actually he was going to see Dattatreya for spiritual instructions. And he was being carried by 4 people on the palki. Previously in India, they did not have helicopter. So they made a human copter. So 4 people will carry this palanquin and the man is sitting inside and they walk. So he is being carried. But when he was going through the forest, and he did not want to go by chariot and all this, because he was going to meet a sage. One may say if he was a king, why he did not go in a chariot? Because kings go in chariot, elephant. So he did not want to go like in a royal procession or something, out of respect for the sage. Kings used to do that. And you go outside the ashram on the sage, and you get off and you remove your shoe and you go barefoot to meet. This was a custom. So anyway, on the way, one of the carrier, he fell sick. He got malaria attack. So he was shivering and he said that he cannot carry this anymore. So they stopped and the king said that go search for a man. He is a king, and in the olden days it was not like you have fundamental right. King could do anything to you. Then just if you see anybody, just catch him. And he has to carry him. Of course he may reward him. But now the president or prime minister cannot do like that. Otherwise he will not get his votes next time. And everybody will criticize him. So they found this nice, healthy looking person, Jad Bharat, wandering. So they tell him that, come, the king wants you to carry the palm. So he said, okay. So he came. He was not bothered. So they said, you lift this. He said, all right. So he put it, this big bamboo rod on his shoulder, and he's walking. Now he is not used to, when you carry the palm king, you have to match with like soldiers, how they walk in rhythm, you have to be in the rhythm so that the palkin is not getting the jerk. But Jada Bharat has never done anything in his life. He was totally carefree. He was like a hippie, spiritual hippie. So he was walking in his own way. So this was causing disturbance. And then he will see some ants on the way. He is trying to protect the ant not to step on it. So he's jumping. And the king's hand is getting hit on the side. So he said, what is this nonsense? Why are you walking? He got angry. He says, what is this you are doing? So they got scared. And because they got scared and what to say, he says, Lord, it is not we, it is the new person who is causing the trouble. So then he spoke to him in a very sarcastic manner, the king. He said, oh, you are very strong, you are very healthy, but you feel burdened by this, looks like. So Jadabharata did not care. he was just what he was. He took everything as it came. He didn't bother about it. He continued and continued giving jerks to the king. So finally king lost temper and he said that you are not afraid and I can punish you. So then finally Jadabharata spoke. He said, how can you punish me? I'm not carrying you. He says there are two legs, then there is a shoulder, then this thing is kept on that, it's not on me. So he started speaking philosophy. So the king, he realized that he is some extraordinary person and he got terrified that he has committed a big offense. So he jumped down from the palanquin and he fell at his feet. And he said, please forgive me, who are you? He thought he is some avatar or who is he? But the way he spoke, it was just so fantastic. So thing is that Jadabharat was just santushta, he was satisfied. He did not think, oh my God, why did I fall into this situation that I have to carry this load on my shoulder? He didn't feel like it. He did not lose his temper. Nothing changed on the inside. This is the meaning, that yadriksha lava santushta. And then one may say, well, if I have to just depend on whatever comes, sometimes I may not get enough food. Then I have pitta problem. Then I get headache. So he says myth book, that eat balanced. So mita means balanced, myth book, hetu book and nit book. Eat balanced, eat what is salubrious and eat regularly. These are the three formula for health. So myth book means don't overeat. You fill your stomach half with the food, 1/3 with the 1/4 with the liquid and leave 1/4 for the air. And it's called myth book. So that way you will remain healthy and happy. And Muni, and be a Muni. Be a thoughtful person. Always deliberate what you are doing and what you are getting into. Don't just follow the crowd. Mostly we follow the crowd. And we think just because others are doing something, then I have to do it. And if many people are doing it, then it must be right. Because this is the age of democracy. So democracy means crowdcracy. Whatever the crowd is doing, then the crowd is selecting the leader. They may not be qualified to select a leader. So be a Muni. Use your head. And Vivikta Sharna. Be lonely. Vivikta Sharna means be lonely. So actually this is a blessing in the modern age that people are lonely. They can become self-realized if they know how to use their loneliness. But because they do not know, then this has become a disease for them. So in the olden days, people will leave their family and township and everything and go to the Himalayas and live in a cave and not see anybody. There was nobody to see. So Maharaj also used to keep Maunavrata till 4 o'clock before. And before that he was keeping Mauna till sunset. He had a board outside his room, visiting hours only after sunset. So he never met anybody in the daytime. Nobody. He was known as Moni Baba. Moni means silent. So Vivikta Sarna, because then only you can think of God, think of the Supreme Person. Otherwise our senses, our mind, they are always being pulled to the material. And we have so many types of chitta vrittis forming and the samskaras inside, and they will keep on troubling. So how to change that? So this is Vivikta Sarana. And Shanta, peaceful, Maitra, friendly, and Karuna is compassionate, and Atmavan. So to be situated in the self. Vivikta Sarana, Ekantavasi. To live alone. Atmavan Dhriti Yukta. Atmavan means to be tolerant, forbearing. So again, means not becoming disturbed. Atma means self, and being situated in the self. That's what basically Atmavan means. Because outside in this material world, we are always getting things or situations which are not conducive to us. So we always need to restrain ourselves. Everybody has to control. You go somewhere in a party, you cannot do what you can do in your own home. You have to behave certain etiquette. If somebody comes to you and says that you come to lunch with me, and after the lunch I want to give you $10 million. So then how you will behave with him in the lunch? You will bring out your best, right? Without any training, without any teaching. You will be very controlled. Why is that? Because you are thinking of 10 million. But if some other friend invites you that let's go to party or lunch, then you go there and you drink, you talk all prajalapa nonsense. You are not bothered about it. You are not conscious, you are not aware. But with this man, how aware you will become. You will become like an enlightened person. Immediately. Right? So that means we have the capacity to control ourselves if we want. And obviously, if we understand the importance of controlling and restraining ourselves, then we will do it. If he believes in that he is going to $10 million, then that's why he is controlling. So that's why in the beginning he says Swadhyānvita, to be full of faith. And this process will work, it will give me the benefit. I will become enlightened, realized, and become free from all my problems. I will be in bliss, I will be in Ananda. So then I apply all my strength and all my might. So then all these obstacles I will cross over, I will transcend. Nothing will deviate me. So that's why hearing is very important. Katha Sravana. If we can understand Krishna Katha, we can understand who is Krishna, we can understand what is our relationship with him, we can understand what I can achieve in this human life, then I will not like to waste even 5 minutes. This is one of the quality of devotees who have attained bhava, that they don't waste time. Why? Because they are realized. But we are not realized. We have faith in the Shastra and we act on it. Then we take our life very seriously. We have been given this opportunity. We did not plan for it. Somehow it happened. When I was a child, I was born, I was not planning. So God has been very gracious to us. So let's not waste this opportunity now. We have to be very conscious of that, very aware. So that is called sincerity. That means I am sincere. And some people think, well, I came at Diksha, I joined this society, now my life is made, now I can do anything. And people sit down and gossip. So that is not being sincere. So, razor's edge, tat kaviyo vadanti, kshurasya dhara tat kaviyo vadanti. It's a question of my life and death. I can die anytime and I don't know what will happen to me. So I don't want to waste my time. I have nothing to do with this material things. I'm not interested in gratifying my senses. I don't plan for that. My goal is I want love for Krishna. I want to be devotee of Krishna. I want to love Krishna. I want to be with him. I want to serve. And I dedicate myself for that. In this life, this is what I want to do. I have lived so many lives. I have taken so many births. I've been everywhere. I have tried everything. Nothing worked. This is the only thing I have not tried. So let's try something new. People always want to do something new, novel experience. So that is the meaning of being Atmavan, being in my own self. Sanubandhe cha dehesmin akurvanna sadagraham jnanena drishta tattvena prakritehe purushasya cha. So now he is continuing to explain further how one will see things. So he says, Sanubandhe cha dehe asmin kurvan asadagraha. So we have attachment to body, dehe asmin, akurvan, not doing, and attachment to anubandha, relatives. These are two big attachments. Attachment to my body attachment to my relatives, and then I leave no attachment for God. All my attachment gets utilized in my body and in my relatives. So I have to give up that, because this is asat agraha. This is futile obstinacy. Body is temporary, I have to give it up. No matter who we are, body has to be given up. And if body is given up, then obviously relatives are only because of the body. So even if this body itself is not mine, what to speak of anything else? So this is called asat agra. My relationship is with God, with Krishna. Mama evanso jiva loke jiva bhuti sanatana. So that jiva, living being, is my ansa eternally. But we think that I am part of this person, I am part of that person. And this is how we are involved in asada. So he translates asad agraham aham mamatam. And this asad agraham are two types. And I said I and my. And this body, and these are my kids. This is my husband, this is my wife, this is my. So I and my is feeding the I, and I is the cause of my. And we get caught in that. Graha means which catches. Graha. This lunar eclipse, solar eclipse is called Grahan in Sanskrit. Because they say that Rahu comes and swallows Grahan. So we are also having this eclipse, asad eclipse, asad Grahan. We are being swallowed by I and my. So we have to deliberate on this. Nobody else is going to do it for us. We have to do it. And jnanena drishta tattvena prakriti purushasya. Then what will happen, that you will see the tattva of prakriti and purusha in this knowledge. Then you will come to realize how you are different from matter. At present we do not realize this. We don't have any idea that I am not this body. We only think I am the body. That is a natural thing. We are born with that. It's your birthright to think I am the body. So to realize that how Prakriti and Purusha are separate, that's the idea of Sankhya we read in the previous chapter. This discrimination, this viveka, to separate, because no matter what, this soul and matter cannot mix together. They are different. So we need to deliberate on this. At least in the beginning stage, we have to have some little inkling of this thing that I am not this body. Then only spiritual path begins. People talk of spirituality these days. A lot of spiritual societies, but they have no idea what is spiritual. So this word is also become misused. words have become misused now. People have captured them for some other meanings, like love. Or friendship. So this asadagraha, this has to be given up. Now in the next verse he says, प्रकृतेः पुरुषस्य दृष्टं तत्त्वं येन तादृशेन ज्ञानेन निवृत्तानि बुद्धि अवस्थानानि जाग्रदादीनि यस्य स अतएव दूरीभूतम् अन्यस्य विषयस्य दर्शनम्. So what will be the outcome of this? The outcome of this will be that when one has realized that how Prakriti and Purusha are two separate things, then he will become free from the three states of buddhi. This state of Jagrat, awakefulness, sleep, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. Which means now he will go to the fourth state, Turiyavastha. And then he will become free from material entanglement. Because once we realize who we are, then it is very easy to understand that actually matter cannot give me happiness. It is not possible that happiness can come from matter. It is impossible. How can matter make a conscious being happy? Think about it. First you have to think what is happiness. Of course, I am not talking about material happiness. But how can a spiritual being become happy by matter? The matter which he never touches. We never touch matter. So how can we become happy with it? And matter is always changing. Even if you have it, it will change. And if you know this, then how can you be happy? Matter is always under modification, always under flux. It's not stable. So how can a stable person be happy with something which keeps on changing? You can be happy only with something which is also stable. And what is your relationship with it? How do you relate with something which is changing? You make a relationship with it, tomorrow it has changed. It's changing at every second. So really it's an illusion to think that I am related to it. Related to what? Because every second it is new. And you take the physical body or the material objects, they are always changing. All the time the cells are dying and new cells are coming in. And you remain in the illusion that it is the same body which I had yesterday. It's not same. It has changed. So this is called Drishtatattvena Prakriteha Purushasya. That you now know the reality, the essence of what is consciousness, what is matter, what is Prakriti, what is Purusha. And then obviously you have no interest in material enjoyment. Then you come to realize that how stupid I was thinking I will be happy from this matter. Nobody ever became happy from matter. If you see the past history, nobody. That's why even great kings like Bharat, which we spoke, they gave up. Jahu Malvat Yuva about Bharat Maharaj who became Jad Bharat, it is said that he gave up his kingdom like stool, Malavat. It's like you go to bathroom, you pass stool, you don't think, oh my God, how can I give this up? No, you don't want to stay there, you want to get out of the place. He gave up his kingdom. He was ruling all over India. India is called Bharata because of his name, Bharata. So he was ruling over this whole country and he renounced. He went to the Himalayas. He lived on the bank of Gandaki river near Kapila Ashram. And sometimes people give up and they sing a song about it for the rest of their life. I gave this up. I had house, I had car, I had this, I gave up everything. No, he says Malavat, like stool. You don't sing song of that I gave up stool. Don't try to glorify yourself. And he gave it up when he was young, yuva. Many times people become renounced when they are old. They have said it's been there, done it, seen it. And even as a young person, he was young, he gave up, went and became absorbed in devotion to the Lord. So what to speak of us? Why these stories are being told here? So that we learn from the others' examples. Intelligent people are those who can learn from others. So katha imanste kathita mahinsham madhyesham. Sukadeva Goswami says that I have told these stories to you of all these great kings. Why I have told you? Vairagya. So that you become renounced. That we learn that all these great people, they could not keep anything with them. Whether they renounced themselves like Bharat Maharaj, or even if they did not renounce, then they also were thrown out of their position. So we should also learn from that. That is the idea behind it. Then we will lose interest in material pleasures and we will be able to make good use of our life. So this is the end of this verse. Then he is going to speak further what happens after one realizes this. Is there any question on this?
I have a question about this feeling of being feeling incomplete. That everybody is searching something because basically there is this feeling of being incomplete. And so either somebody is searching for the objects or the relation. So this is a, as you say, is a natural feeling?
In the conditioned state.
In the conditioned state.
As soon as you identify with the body, you become incomplete.
Means that you are born.
Just like as soon as you go away from your house, you always feel when will I get back to your house, isn't it? And then you feel, even if you have some work and even if you go for a picnic or learning, but actually you come back and you feel relaxed in your house. So in the same way, we are spiritual beings and we are trying to do something with the body which we are not. So as soon as we identify with the body, which means I have left my own self, and immediately I am incomplete. And no matter what I do, that incompleteness will haunt me under all situations. I may forget for some time, like you go to picnic and you are enjoying. But then what happens after some time, you're thinking you want to get back home. And you go for a party, you enjoy everything, but then suppose when you go to party, how happy you are. And then party may last for 2 hours, 3 hours, then you want to go back. And I stop you on the gate and I ask you, how was the party? So I say, oh, it was very nice. And did you really enjoy it? Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I said, okay, enjoy more, get back. I don't allow you to go out. Then what will you do? You think you will enjoy? Then he said, no, I want to go home. Why you want to go home if you are enjoying here? If you really enjoyed it and you are enjoying, enjoy. Why do you want to go home? So I said, no, I will not let you go because I want to do welfare to you. You enjoy. When you are in the party, you have no worries. He said, we will supply you whatever you want, drink, eat, everything. Even if you want to sleep here and start the party again in the morning, you just party for the rest of your life. Would you like it? No. He said, no, I have to get back to my home. So as soon as you leave your home, you are already incomplete. Now you may try to fulfill that lacuna by partying, but it doesn't work for a very long time. Again you are reminded. So we are like that.
The same thing is in the relation.
Same thing in the relations, everything else. Relations, foods, picnic, party, enjoying, drinking, drugs. These are different ways of entangling ourselves and getting rid of my loneliness. But it will always fail, sooner or later. For some people it may not fail immediately, but it will fail one day.
Babaji, there was a period in my life when I said, well, I hope I won't be the only one living when it's time for everyone to pass on. What has happened is that I live to bury many people in my family. As it stands now, I have one niece and 2 grandnieces, and it's like a hard way to let go of attachments. Going through the whole process of saying goodbye for good helped me to become a little more detached. And I said, well, I guess I have to witness this.
Yeah.
It was not easy, but I had to let them go.
Yeah, one by one everybody leaves, and if they don't leave, you will leave. But there will be separation. The world is always moving towards separation. Separation is the essence of this world.
The hardest one was going to see my mother in a casket. It took me a long time to get up, to go into the viewing room to see her like that. But I did live through it.
Yeah. Then the reality. So, then we can understand it actually. What is all this drama?
Can I be a little bit of the subject but connected? That's a question that how it haunts me a little bit before 3 days I thought about it. It's connected with the Krishna Katha or Katha philosophy and the speaker. And sometimes I just can't help but get the idea that it is not just the words or just the philosophy, but something that comes with the words, that with the philosophy that makes things nourishing, attractive, or as you were telling today, soul can be happy, spiritually happy by listening to. And I heard a saying that I always thought is a metaphor, that the words of a pure devotee can capture the lotus particle on the lotus feet of the Lord and send it through your mouth to the ears of the listener, and it goes in the heart and never reaches the heart. And I always thought it's a metaphor, but more and more I'm realizing it's not a metaphor. There's some truth to it. So my question is there some philosophy behind this phenomenon what I'm talking about? Is there some conception comes with it or something?
It's not just the words, but also the speaker who speaks, and depending on his or her consciousness, when his words get power. Jiva Goswami actually writes about this in Bhakti Sandarbha. He says that when he talks about Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, he's explaining this Navada Bhakti. So when he talks about Shravanam, hearing, so then he talks about that hearing is of 4 types. Nam, hearing the name, hearing about the form, hearing about the qualities, Nam, Roop, Gun, Lila, Shravan, and hearing about the pastimes. So then when he talks about hearing about Lord's form, qualities and pastime and so on, and then he compares that there are people who write poetry, like modern poets, there are other saints who have written. So he says that hearing Bhagavatam is the best of all things. And then he gives a reasoning that first of all Bhagavatam came from the mouth of Lord, and then it was written by Vyasa, and then it was spoken by Sukadeva. So he says therefore it becomes very powerful because of the greatness of the author and also the greatness of the speaker. So he makes this point.
Vyasa was not a speaker, but Shukadeva was not a speaker.
Yes. That Vyasa only wrote it, and it is Sukadeva who spoke it.
I can confess something. I have read, transcribed lectures of Prabhupada, and I read it, and I felt bored. And I heard that very same lecture, and I felt nourished.
Yes.
I could understand this.
Yeah,
and
so
I believe if I would be present, there would be much more to it.
yeah, of course, when you present, then that person's energy or all this has an influence. So that's why for this reason sadhu sangha is very much emphasized. Because sadhu sangha, of course, even hearing, even seeing is sadhu sangha, but as I have been saying all the time, that real meaning of sadhu sangha is to hear. Because these words which come from the mouth of the sadhus, they have potency in them, and they go and make an influence inside you. They have power. The same statement somebody else can make. It will not have that power. So that is what Jiva Goswami himself saying.
It's maybe connected to the very beginning of your class. That people are lonely. They're trying to get association through Facebook.
Yes.
It's very limited association by written words.
Yeah, because Facebook also, what do you gain from that?
And I understood that it's a phenomenon when one can lie easily by writing something.
Yeah.
But if you are going to say it, then it's more difficult to lie, because one will hear the intonation in the voice.
Also then you feel the presence of other person.
In
And
front of person, one can see the face, and it's even more difficult to lie. So
when you write, just like a neutral person, you can be angry and you can write angrily. But when you are angry at some person and he is present, you may not be so angry at that Many times it happens you are upset with somebody and you are thinking, I will say this, I will say that. When the person comes in front of you, and you say, oh, forget it. No, it's all right. So your mind changes by the influence. Alright. So next 4 days there will be no class. Next class will be on Monday. Because now this festival season is coming, Diwali and Golden Puja and Bhaiya Dooj and all this. So we will meet hopefully on Monday.
What's today's date?
Monday,
Third or fourth? Third.
So how do you do?
4 classes. Today, what is the day?
Third.
Third,
Next week?
4, 5, 6, 7. What will be the 8th, the next class? Or the 7th?
Monday, whatever is on Monday.
Monday. So, on the 8th.